it looks like everybody's about finished with your do now. So we're going to set that aside for just a minute and talk about what we're going to do today. We're going to keep working on sentences. We've already learned that we need a capital letter and some kind of punctuation at the end. We also know about subjects and predicates. Take a look at your do now. On your do now, you have 2 sentences, and you needed to make some corrections. What corrections did you make to the first sentence? Good. The K on Katie needs to be capitalized, not just because it's her name, but because it's at the beginning. And you also needed to put a period at the end of that sentence because it's a telling sentence. On the second one, you had to capitalize the D in does because that's the first letter of the sentence. And this time, it's an asking question. So you needed to put a question mark at the end. Let's take those 2 sentences and see if we can figure out where the subject and the predicate is. In the first one, what's the subject? Circle the word that's the subject. If you circled the word Katie, you're right. That's the subject. The sentence is about Katie. Now underline the predicate. We're looking for what it tells us about Katie. If you underlined, helped her mom make the bed, that's exactly correct. In the second sentence, it's a little different. What's the subject in the second sentence? It's about Stephen, so I'm glad you circled the word Stephen. The predicate is a little bit harder, but we've worked on this. The predicate wraps around the subject. So you should have underlined does like soccer. Today we've just reviewed what it is that you know already about sentences. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to write a complete sentence. After I'm done, you're going to work with a partner, and then at the end, you're going to work by yourself to make your own sentences. Why are sentences important? We want to use sentences that are complete when we're writing something a little bit more formal. When you're writing something that other people will read, it's important to use complete sentences. That way people will know what you're thinking. So you would use complete sentences in things like a report or maybe a letter. When you're making a list, let's say a grocery list, you wouldn't need to use complete sentences then because you're the only one who's going to read it. It's only there to help you remember what to buy when you go to the store. When you're writing in your own journal or diary, you probably will use complete sentence, but you don't have to because again, you're the only one reading it. Now that we know that all sentences have a subject and a predicate or a verb, we need a capital letter at the beginning and some kind of punctuation at the end. We're going to add one more thing to make sure that those sentences are always complete. You can see that I put the anchor chart on the wall, and by the time you leave today, you're going to have your own copy to put in your binder. When you're writing a complete sentence, there are 4 things you need to make sure you pay attention to. First one we know. Is there a subject and a verb or a predicate? The second one we know too. Make a capital letter at the beginning of that sentence. The third one is a little bit new. In the third one, we have to stop and think. Is it a complete thought? So if somebody else reads my sentence, will they know what I'm thinking? And the fourth one we already know how to do, and that's put some kind of punctuation at the end. I'm going to show you an example. I wrote this sentence on the board. Kids in our school should have more recess time. as I think about my checklist, the first one is make sure that I have a subject and a predicate or verb. The subject is kids in our school. And about them is have more recess time. So I have a subject and a verb. Do I have a capital letter at the beginning? I don't. So I'm going to have to fix that. Now is the new part. When I think about this sentence, is it a complete thought? If somebody else reads it, will they know what I'm trying to say? I think they will. I'm saying we need more recess time. I think that's pretty clear. And then I need to check for that end punctuation, and I forgot to put it on there. So I'm going to go back and correct it. I'm going to do one more example. And this time, I want you to tell me what to do before I do it. So you're going to use that anchor chart and look at the sentence that I have on the board. Dogs are the most popular. Is there a subject? What is the sentence about? That's right, it's about dogs. So I have a subject. Do I have a predicate? Does it tell me something about dogs? Dogs are the most popular. So yeah, I have a subject and I have a predicate. Do I have a capital letter at the beginning? I do. So I don't need to fix that this time. Yay, I remembered. Now what about a complete thought? If a stranger were to read my sentence, would they know what I was thinking? No, you're right. They probably wouldn't. Dogs are the most popular what? So I'm going to finish my thought because what I want people to know is dogs are the most popular pets in America. My last step is to check to see if I have an end mark, and I do. So remember, now you're going to work with a partner, and I'm going to give you some sentences to look at with your partner. You and your partner are going to figure out which ones are complete sentences and which ones aren't. When we're all done, we'll come back together and talk about what you thought. Thank you for working with your partners so well. As I was listening to you work with your partner, I know that you know how to do complete sentences. You know the process. So when you look at the 4 sentences I gave you, which ones did you find were complete? If you selected the first sentence and the last sentence, you're right. They have subjects and predicates or verbs. They have capital letters. They have a complete thought and a punctuation mark at the end. What was wrong with sentence number 2? Why is it not complete? If we would put the T as a capital and put a period at the end, then we'd have a complete sentence. The third one has a capital letter and a period at the end. Is it a complete thought? It's not. So we would have to totally redo that sentence. Now it's your turn. I'm going to give you a few minutes, and I want you to write 3 complete sentences using the 4 steps. When you're finished, we are going to go ahead and share one of those with the group, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Thank you for finishing all your sentences. At the beginning, I told you that we were going to learn how to write complete sentences, and that you were going to have to write your own and share one of those with the group. When you shared, everybody was able to do it. You had capitals at the beginning, you had a complete thought, you had a subject and a verb or predicate, and you had punctuation at the end. I want you to stop for a minute and think about today. What did you learn today? And how did this go for you? Go ahead and, when I tell you to, you're going to write on your sticky note what you learned today and how it's going to help you to be a better writer. Tomorrow, Since we did so well today, we're going to move on. And tomorrow we're going to learn how to write complete sentences that are interesting and exciting for people to read. When you're finished with your sticky note, go ahead and put your folder away and you can go back to class.